What up, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. We have quite a big video for you today, and it's a video I am so excited about. I literally thought of this one at like 11 o'clock at night, and I could not sit still until I got it all planned out, so I'm excited that the day is here when this gets released to you. I took $100 and I went to a regular grocery store. In this situation, I used Kroger because that is the grocery store closest to me. I wanted to see, in 2024, how many meals could I make with $100? And that is what I'm gonna be sharing with you. I also wanna share a few tips and tricks. I know not everybody loves a long intro, and I wouldn't even call it an intro because we're gonna be discussing some things, but in case you wanna skip right into more the meat and potatoes of the video, I'm gonna leave a timestamp here for the grocery haul portion, and then I'm gonna leave a timestamp here for when we get into the actual recipes. So feel free to skip ahead if you don't like long intros. So the reason why this video came about is because I am a shelf cooker by nature. And what that means is generally I go to my fridge, freezer, and pantry every single week to meal plan for our family of 5. And then I just simply fill in on my grocery shopping with the things that I need in order to supplement the recipes that I come up with. And that way I'm not wasting food. I cycle through our food quite a bit, and a lot of items are not really sitting on our shelves very long in this house. However, I know not everybody does grocery shopping like that, and some people, maybe you just moved to a new house, so you don't have a pantry built up yet. I wanted to see if you needed to start off with a $100 budget, what you could do just with basic staples in your house and the $100 grocery order. Some of the rules that I kind of set for myself in this challenge is the assumption that everybody at home has salt, pepper, and seasonings, whatever your favorite seasonings are. In this video, I end up using versions of taco seasoning, Italian seasoning, and all-purpose seasoning. And honestly, if you only have all-purpose seasoning, like something like a seasoned salt or something like that, it would totally be fine. But the idea was that you had those in your arsenal. The assumption was that also that you had some type of an oil. I used avocado oil primarily in this. There were a couple recipes that I used sesame oil, but you could just swap it out for whatever oil you keep in your house. And then just a couple others were an all-purpose flour. It only gets used a couple tablespoons in one recipe. So either all-purpose flour or cornstarch, but if you didn't have that, honestly, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And then the last one would be some type of a sweetener. So whether you have a honey, a sugar, or a brown sugar. So I really wanted to challenge myself to see how much $100 could get us, but I wanted to make sure that we were really thinking outside of the box and not doing the standard recipes that most people think of when they think of budget-friendly meals. The other thing that's incredibly important to me is making sure that we're still getting very nutritious meals. I think that supplementing with vegetables throughout meals can really give volume to the dish and keep that nutrition factor and make it feel more substantial. Things that you can expect is we are going to do a grocery haul, so I'm going to show you everything that I got for the $100. I'm also going to share with you a massive meal prep. So I'm going to show you how I made 14 recipes, which resulted in over 55 meals for my family of 5. I'm going to show you some behind the scenes clips of what a mess I make in the kitchen. And I'll also be sharing some of the things that I learned, some of the areas of opportunities that I identified that I'm going to apply towards the next video. And then John joins me and we attempt to do a rapid fire review of all of the items that you see in this video. Not gonna lie, we talk a little bit longer than I intended us to, but you guys are used to us at this point. So be sure to watch all the way to the end so you can see our honest review for corporate. If you're new here, hi, how are you? How's the family? Thank you so much for clicking on that thumbnail and giving me a chance. Over here, I do a lot of haul videos, so I usually share grocery hauls, Costco hauls, Trader Joe's hauls, and I also share videos like this where I provide recipe inspiration for when you're doing your meal planning. If you end up enjoying the vibe while you're here, please consider subscribing. And without further ado, let's dive into this video. All right, my friends, here is the grocery haul that we are going to try and take and turn in to as many meals as possible. The energy here is we're going to try to waste absolutely nothing. I obviously have an overall plan, but a lot of the plan that I have doesn't entirely exhaust every ingredient. So in terms of produce, I grabbed a couple 3-packs of bell peppers. So those are going to get used quite a bit in this video. I also grabbed celery hearts and some carrots, grabbed a couple big things of broccoli. These were only like $1 or something. Broccoli is a great option and it's gonna help bring some volume to a couple of the meals. I also grabbed some peeled garlic. The regular garlic would have been less pricey. However, mine was actually out of stock on regular garlic. So I did have to pay a little bit more for the convenience of garlic. You don't even have to go the garlic route if you didn't want to. You could go with just garlic powder that you have in your pantry type thing, but I'm a big fan of fresh garlic. So I did grab some garlic. I grabbed a huge bag of yellow onions that we'll be using, a couple sweet potatoes. I also grabbed a, what is this, a half gallon? I grabbed half a gallon of whole milk. I grabbed lots of cheeses, and honestly, cheese is one of those things that you don't need to buy. For $2.30 per, so that equals almost $10 right here. So it's like 10% of the budget I spent on cheese, and I'm like now realizing that's kind of ridiculous. I probably could have cut at least one of these out, if not two of them out. But I am a lover of cheese, so I want to make sure that this video is genuine and it's things that I would actually want to eat, and we'll still find ways to stretch. But if you are in a position where you're really trying to cut back, the cheese would have been one of the places you could have cut from. This is a learning experience. I grabbed fajita style tortillas on accident. I just meant to grab wraps, but we're gonna make it work. It'll be totally fine. I also grabbed our favorite ground turkey tub. This amounts to about $3.33 per pound. So what we're probably going to do with this is actually cut it into 4. So I'm excited about that. Grabbed a huge thing of chicken breast. This is 4.5 pounds, and I think it was around $11. So pretty good price there. Lots of chicken that we're going to be using up. I grabbed 1 carton of eggs. I'm not doing too many egg things in this, but when we do egg meals, it's going to be to stretch these eggs out, because 12 eggs is really not that much, especially for a family of 5 like mine. I also grabbed some of this long grain white rice. What's funny about this is I have a specific brand of rice that I absolutely love, and I was a little over the budget. I was at like $106. And I was like, let me go through and see if there's things that I can swap out for other things. The rice that I normally buy is $8.99 on sale. Regular price was $11.99. I don't remember what this ended up being, but it was like a significant savings. I think it cut off like $5 or something. So it's just funny how going with a store brand really can make a huge impact on the budget. So that was cool. I also grabbed 1 pound of ground pork. We're going to be using that in a few different ways in this video. And then in the back, I grabbed 2 different pastas. I got a 1 pound box of rigatoni from the Kroger brand and a pound box of ditalini. Those are going to be used in some type of a soup and a baked pasta dish. Grab some breadcrumbs, some pasta sauce, and then some salsa. I also grabbed chicken broth. This is another thing that if you needed to make a cut, this is one of the first cuts I probably would have made, because you can make a chicken broth yourself just by using, like if I were to boil this chicken breast and use it in other ways, in other recipes with some of the vegetables, I wouldn't even need to do the chicken broth. They also had a deal for this. It was free with the purchase. So I just grabbed this. I don't know that we'll use it in this video, but maybe we will. Also, I grabbed some sweet corn, 2 cans of black beans. Black beans are a great option for stretching $1, especially if you get the dried black beans. But I just went with the canned because we're using only so much that it was only a 40-cent difference to get the dried black beans. But if you're in a position where you're really trying to stretch it, you could switch over to dried beans and just prepare them. I grabbed a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes, 2 cans of tuna. I also grabbed some whole wheat English muffins. I generally like regular English muffins, but they were out of stock. But again, the price on the English muffins when I went with Kroger brand was alarmingly different. I haven't had the Kroger brand yet, but I'm not like a name brand snob, so I don't know. I just always default because Thomas English Muffins is the first you see. So this is definitely a learning experience for me for budgeting just in general, but I'm excited to try these out. I also grabbed some rice vinegar and soy sauce. This was something that you might already have on hand, but it wasn't like a ketchup, so I wasn't sure. So I wanted to be as genuine as possible. We will need these in a few of the recipes, so I did add it, but obviously if you already had those in your pantry, you wouldn't have to worry about it. And then last but not least, I'm excited about the recipe we'll be making with these. I grabbed 4 baked potatoes, or baking russet potatoes, whatever you want to call it. We're going to use that in a recipe. So next up, we're going to move on to figuring out how we're going to prep ourselves for success in order to make this week not just budget friendly, but easy on us as well. Now that we wrapped up the grocery haul, and before we dive in to the actual meal prep portion, one of the things that I wanted to just share was a couple of the shopping strategies I had when I put that grocery haul together. The first one is that I tried to focus on just having 3 central themes when it came to the meals. So I did kind of like an Asian profile. I did a Southwest / Mexican profile. profile, and then I did like an Italian profile. So not only did we get a great variety out of the recipes and not get sick of eating the same flavor profile day in and day out for 7 days, but it also helped me buy ingredients that overlap across all of the recipes. It helps on the budget, and it helps on managing the ingredients that you have. Doesn't take up as much space because there's not as many items because you're using it across a few things. And most importantly, it helps reduce the food waste because you're gonna end up exhausting those ingredients. And then my last recommendation or note that I have on this is you'll notice with a lot of these recipes, I tried to make it so you could have it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So there was some like a Loco Moco, that's something that had an egg on it. Egg is traditionally breakfast, but I was eating it for lunch or dinner. So when you're thinking of the recipes that you wanna come up with, if you do something similar to this, try to come up with ones that can really be swapped between breakfast, lunch, or dinner. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and dive into the actual recipes. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, friends, we are headed into the meal prep magic section of this video. I'm going to share some strategies I use to keep my meal prep as organized as possible while you view these clips. My first meal prep strategy is to prep the items the day before a big meal prep session. So I'm gonna walk you through exactly what that looked like for me. First up, I threw 4.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast in my crock pot. I added a little water, salt, pepper, and all-purpose seasoning. In this case, I was using the Cavender's all-purpose seasoning. This was my first time using it, and I absolutely loved it. I set that baby to cook on high and let it work its magic. Once it's done, you're gonna pull the chicken out and pop it in the fridge for later, but do not toss the juices. You're gonna need them for some homemade chicken stock later. Ideally at this point, I would have also taken the time to brown up some ground turkey and pork on the stove. I ended up not having time during the prep session, so I end up doing that during the meal prep, but if you're recreating this, that's a step I would have taken. So I moved on to washing my produce next. I like to use Trader Joe's fruit and veggie wash, but white vinegar or lemon juice would work just as well. Then I took a couple bags of the peeled garlic and tossed them right in the food processor to get chopped up. I store this in an airtight jar with some oil. Then I moved on to peeling and chopping all of the veggies and sweet potatoes, and we are going to save all of the scraps that you see in this step for the stock that I had mentioned. I use items like kitchen shears and a veggie chopper to make this portion easier on myself, and I like to store all of the chopped veggies in a 4-compartment tray. That way I can just grab one item out of my fridge when I'm ready to go use the produce in a meal prep. I will have all the tools that I love linked down below in case they'd help your kitchen out too. All right, you guys, I thought I'd give you a little behind the scenes of what's going down currently in the middle of this meal prep. So I have all of the veggie scraps put in this bag. We are gonna use those. Nothing is gonna get wasted. I have some carrots that I'm about to shred up using this countertop grater. We've got sweet potatoes in the hot tub steaming up. I've got chicken in the hot tub. That is on high. I'm hoping that'll be done pretty soon. I have this bag just for trash. I usually keep like either a bag or a bowl on the counter. That way, as things are happening, I don't have to walk back and forth from the trash. We have our supervisor over here. This is Graveyard Gilbert. He's making sure everything is going good. Over here, I am compiling everything. I'm keeping all the non-perishable items together on the counter for right now. I want to make sure that none of my regular back stock is mixed in at any point, so I'm keeping all of the items out for myself. Plus, this makes it easier since we're doing this meal prep style that I can just grab the items. I'm like the type, I don't like clutter on my counter. I'm the type that I need everything put away, but I'm making it work for this situation, and luckily we're gonna meal prep pretty quick and get it all processed and ready to go. This is all of the produce that we just worked through. I have a bag of carrots and celery that I wasn't sure how the recipes needed them chopped up, so I'm gonna wait until we get there. I also have 3 more bags in here of the cloves of garlic, huge bag of broccoli. Again, this one I wasn't sure how I diced that up, so I just kept it pretty large, but at least washed and prepped for myself. And then these right here are gonna be bell peppers for stuffed peppers, so those are staying whole. I'll just need to cut them when we get to that point, but that is everything there. And then in terms of the dishes that I've created, this is what's happening here. We've got like the chopper, some of the strainer baskets, cutting boards. We also have kids stuff over here. So all in all, I try to clean as I go. I'm not trying to like pretend like I'm ideal and perfect, but I do try to clean as I go. That way we don't have like a huge disaster zone at the end of it. But yeah, I'm gonna dive back in. We're gonna get these carrots, and then I think I'm gonna move on to the cheeses and get those shredded up. Next up, I grabbed out my cheese grater and just shredded away at all the cheese. I store mine in reusable bags that I have labeled because I don't want to be in the middle of zombie mode meal prep and confuse mozzarella and pepper jack. Next up, I went ahead and made some rice because most of the recipes called for day-old rice. So I rinsed 3 cups of uncooked rice, threw it in the rice cooker with 6 cups of water, and let it do its thing. Once it was done, I just stored that in the fridge for the next day. Now the grand finale. One of the things that I love to do so much that I don't think enough people do is make your own chicken stock. It is simpler than you think. Once I took the chicken breasts out of the crock pot, I just put the veggie scraps right in there. I added some extra garlic, I added 2 bay leaves, some peppercorns, and I filled it all the way to the top with water. I cooked that on high for 3 to 4 hours. I strained it and I stored it in the soup containers. This gives serious flavor to the recipes, and the house smelled like a Thanksgiving candle. On the day of the actual meal prep, I printed out my recipes because I'm old school like that. I wrote on each one in the top right, nice and big, which appliance it was going to need and any big tools I'd be using. That way I can batch things together. Then I gathered up all the tools that I would need, like sheet pans, mixing bowls, skillets, and I stuck the recipe card with it on a counter so I'd be ready to go and jam it out. So now that we got all that prep work out of the way, we're going to head into the actual execution of this massive, budget-friendly meal prep. I am going to walk you guys through each of these recipes, but I don't want to talk your ear off, so I'm just going to be giving a brief summary, or as brief as your girl could be, let's be honest. However, I am also going to have a blog post, which will be linked in the description box with all of the recipes. I do want to give a jump scare warning that I am not at all a talented blogger, and I have no intentions to start an award-winning blog anytime soon. I just knew that there was going to be too many characters for the description box with all of these recipes, so I thought that would be the easiest way to get you guys the information. I do not have any sponsors on that blog. There's not a life story. There's not a bunch of clickable ads or anything. It is simply a website that is very simple in nature that has the recipes from this video. First on the menu is sweet potato and black bean quesadillas. These are perfect for weeknight meals or even for lunch prep. Here's what I did. First, I preheated the oven to 425 degrees and I steamed up 2 diced sweet potatoes in a rice cooker until they were soft. Once those were ready, I mashed them up in a bowl with some milk and seasonings and then stirred in a can of drained and rinsed black beans. Then I grabbed out 12 mini tortillas for myself, laid out 6 of them on a baking sheet, and then I scooped the sweet potato and black bean mixture evenly throughout those tortillas, topped it with a little bit of cheese, placed the remaining tortillas on top, gave those a light spray of avocado oil, and then I stuck a second sheet pan on top of those to give them a little bit of weight and popped them in the oven for about 15 minutes until they were golden brown. I used a pizza cutter to cut these up into nice little slices that were perfect for my toddlers. Next up, we have some Italian penicillin soup. This is the first time I've ever made a soup like this, but it definitely won't be the last. In a big pot, I simply brought 3 cups of chicken broth to a boil, and I tossed in a whole peeled onion, 3 cloves of garlic, 2 peeled carrots, and 2 diced celery stalks. I let that simmer all together for about 45 minutes, stirring every 15 minutes to allow those vegetables to get soft. Then I took the veggies out and blended them with about a quarter cup of broth until it was a smooth paste. I put that back in the big pot, added another 3 cups of chicken broth, stirred in 2 cups of cooked chicken that I had used chicken shears to shred up, along with 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. I always cook and store my pasta separately, and just before serving, add it to the soup. That way it doesn't get soggy in the fridge if you're not eating it right away like we were in this situation. If you happen to have Parmesan cheese on hand, it would make the perfect garnish for this one. All right, you guys just saw that the Italian penicillin soup is going on the stove, and I'm gonna get this pepper jack chicken soup started in the crock pot. So the goal on this recipe is to throw it together fast enough that I beat the pasta that's cooking on the stove. So we are going to toss in 2 cups of chicken broth. We're doing half a cup of salsa. I'm just gonna eyeball it. We're doing some carrot. It's gonna be the equivalent of 2 carrots. So I'm just gonna do like 3 handfuls of carrot. And equivalent of 2 celery. So I'd say like 3 handfuls on that. A little bit of diced onion. Diced bell pepper. See how convenient it is having this all chopped up for yourself? We are gonna do a little garlic in there. I had like a little bit of rice left over in this dish, but it's not a full cup. And we're doing a cup of rice. I actually have so much rice that I'm probably gonna do like a cup and a half to bulk it up a little bit more. Just some taco seasoning, whatever your favorite is. Oh, and can't forget the star ingredient, chicken. So I'm just using my kitchen shears to cut the chicken. I should probably show you guys, yeah, a little closer, sorry about that. So it's about 2 cups of cooked chicken. And like I said, I'm just using the kitchen shears to cut it up for myself. And guess what, you guys, I did it. I beat the pasta on the stove, which means this took me less than 5 minutes to throw together because the timer was at 4 minutes and 30 seconds when I started this. Okay, so I'm cooking this on low for about 4 hours, and then like a half hour before I'm ready to eat it, we're gonna be incorporating milk and cheese. But for now, this is the base of it, so that's already going in the hot tub, and it'll be waiting on me for later. This was actually one of the easiest meals to throw together because it was seriously just mixing together ground turkey, breadcrumbs, an egg, milk, onion, garlic, salsa, and some taco seasoning until it formed a meatloaf. Then I just plopped it in my hot tub, aka the slow cooker, and I cooked it on low for 6 hours. For us, we ended up just serving it with some pasta on the side, but there was plenty of rice left over in this meal prep, so you could also do it with rice or just a simple vegetable. All right, you guys, another behind the scenes clip over here. We have quite the mess now. Okay, last night I was keeping it together, but today it's kids' nap time, so I haven't been like cleaning up as much in between. I have my dishwasher open so I can be throwing things in. This pile over here is all of the like recipes that you saw me organizing before. What else we got? I've been grabbing ingredients from over here, so this has turned into a mess. I'm about to put away the cold items that I need to put away. I just separated all this ground turkey into 4 sections. 1 went in the crock pot with a recipe. The other 3 are in Ziploc bags to grab out later, so those are gonna go in the fridge. A lot of this is gonna go back in the fridge because I need to take a break to go accomplish a few other tasks and then continue on the party once John gets home from work. So this is the current state of affairs behind the scenes. You can see my little setup over here for the camera. And yeah, we're gonna get this done. We can do this. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to show you is that I've made myself like a little pile. As I finish the recipe, I've been just tossing it up here. So far we've gotten through 4 recipes, and that's really exciting. I am actually enjoying this. Like, it's a lot of work, but I'm enjoying it. This like brings me so much joy. It's not even funny. Next up, we have Bullgogi fried rice. This is sweet, savory, and a little bit zesty. I started by making a bulgogi sauce in a small cup, and then in a large pan, I browned up some ground pork. I used half a pound in this recipe and then stole the other half for another recipe we'll make together later. Once the pork was good, I just added garlic, onion, celery, and shredded carrots and cooked them until they were soft, probably about 5 or 6 minutes. Then I made a well in the middle and added the cold rice from the day before, about 3 cups. I let that get a little bit crispy and toasted for maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Then I poured that bulgogi sauce over the entire rice and stirred it all together. Then I made another well in the middle and scrambled 2 eggs with a little bit of milk until they were fluffy, mixed that all together again, and boom, I was done. If you want this to be spicy, you can add some sriracha or red pepper flakes. All right, now with that other half of the ground pork, we're doing a little bit of an island-style Loco Moco casserole. This one's a layered dish. It has rice at the bottom, topped with the ground pork, some onion, garlic, and then smothered with a gravy. And while the casserole is cooking, you just fry up some eggs to throw on each serving. You guys, John is the breakfast chef in this house. As you're watching the clips of me absolutely demolishing these eggs, just know that that is his area of strength and clearly my area of opportunity. That all bakes in the oven, and I know it kind of sounds like a crazy combination to anybody outside of the Hawaiian Islands, but I promise you it is one of the most delicious breakfast, lunch, or dinner you can have. All right, next we have something very hearty and very zesty. This one is a Southwest chicken and rice casserole. This one gets loaded up with shredded chicken, rice, black beans, corn, salsa, and of course cheese. You literally just mix everything together in a mixing bowl, season it up with some taco seasoning and smoked paprika, and spread it out in a casserole dish. You just toss it with some cheese and bake it until everything's bubbly and melty. This ended up being the perfect freezer meal for us. And don't forget to stay till the end because we're going to be giving all of our feedback on all of the flavors that you're seeing in this video. Next up is a super classic one. We just did some tuna melts right on the whole wheat English muffins. With this one, I ended up just mixing up some tuna with mayonnaise, seasonings, diced celery, diced carrots, things like that, and mixed it all up, laid them out on some toasted English muffins, topped it with cheese, popped it back in the oven until it could get nice and toasty. These ended up turning out perfect to have as either a quick snack or a quick lunch during the week. All right, we're switching things up a little bit, and I'm hitting you guys with a vegetable frittata. This one is so easy, and it was such a winner. All you do is saute some vegetables for yourself, add in a can of diced tomatoes that you drain. That's very important because you don't want it to be too soggy. Whisk up some eggs on the side with some milk and seasoning. Pour it over those veggies, top it with the shredded cheese, and then you pop it in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. It ended up making a skillet of just light, fluffy, delicious eggs. And we ended up using them for breakfast, but I could have seen myself eating that for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Next up was one of the recipes I, for whatever reason, had so much fun making, and they're just air fryer chicken taquitos. For this, I just mixed up some shredded chicken, cheese, salsa, and taco seasoning, and then I rolled them up in little mini tortillas that I had sprayed with some avocado oil. I put them in a little silicone tray right in my air fryer for about 6 to 8 minutes. They ended up coming out perfectly crispy and cheesy, and they were so easy to reheat for a quick lunch or snack during the week. Hello, my friends. As I've worked through this list and this meal prep extravaganza, I have some notes that I'm taking for my future self because I have a feeling I'm going to want to do this challenge over and over and over again at different stores. Like I want to try Walmart, I want to try Aldi, I want to try different amounts. So there's a few notes that I just wanted to share in the event you decide you want to recreate anything that you see in this video. First thing, the breadcrumbs. I don't know why the breadcrumbs are bugging me. The thing is, there's a couple routes that I could have taken with the breadcrumbs. One is I could have swapped the breadcrumbs for just like a loaf of bread because the breadcrumbs are about $1.50, and most of the time at my Kroger, I can get a loaf of bread for somewhere between $1 and $2. So what I could have done is used the bread for sandwiches or something like that, and then also toasted the bread and made my own breadcrumbs out of a few slices of it. Because it just feels so wasteful to have an entire can of breadcrumbs. Granted, those breadcrumbs will last a long time. They're a pantry staple item that can be used in the future. Wouldn't have to repurchase those breadcrumbs. But if we're trying to be as frugal as possible, that's one thing that I was thinking of. The other option was to swap it for oats instead. Now at my Kroger, $1.49 was breadcrumbs. Most of the oats that I saw were like $2.49 to $2.99. It would have meant that I would have needed to make cuts elsewhere. So I would have had to come up with another dollar by eliminating something else. But I think that it would have been worth it because I also had leftover milk. So had I switched the breadcrumbs for oats, then I could have taken the oats and used those as breadcrumbs in the recipe that calls for breadcrumbs. And then I could have had the oats with milk and those apple sauces in order to have like an overnight oats, just sprinkle in some cinnamon. That would have made extra breakfast. The other thing is skipping chicken broth altogether. The chicken broth was also about $2, I want to say. I was able to create my own chicken broth and I had plenty of leftover. There was no need to buy the chicken broth. So my notes would be skip the breadcrumbs, skip the chicken broth, instead get the oats. And that would have been a perfect swap. And the last thing that I wanted to cover is that this video is obviously to serve as inspiration. So because of that, I have it packed with a bunch of different recipes, a bunch of different options, because I know not everybody loves stuffed peppers. Some people don't love baked pasta dishes. However, a lot of the ingredients overlap one another. So first of all, if you do want the variety, it wasn't that difficult to pull it off. It was a lot of work. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I pretty much got it all done in one evening after John got home from work. So that's a pretty big deal. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 hours total went into this meal prep. But if you're looking at this and you're overwhelmed, a lot of these recipes have overlapping ingredients that instead of doing all of the different recipes I did, you could just double up on any of them for the most part. So there's a lot of different changes that you can make. There's nobody that has a wallet that couldn't use a rest every once in a while from these grocery prices. So if I can help you out in any way, shape, or form with the mistakes and things I learned throughout this challenge, I am happy to do so. Anyways, like I said, just popping in to give that information. We're gonna get back into the video now. Next up, I have something for morning for us, and those are breakfast sausage patties. We have been making breakfast sausage patties for a while, so I was really excited to be able to do it again in this video. So all I do for this is I basically just mix up some ground turkey with garlic and a bunch of seasonings. Specifically, you want to use either a cinnamon or a pumpkin pie spice to give it that breakfast sweet twist. You can also add a couple teaspoons of maple syrup or brown sugar if you have it on hand to take it up a level in the sweetness. For these, you just form them into little patties and air fry them for about 8 to 10 minutes. While they're cooking, you can toast up your English muffins and get your cheese out. Then you just assemble the sandwiches. We ended up storing them in Ziploc bags in the fridge for the week. It was so nice to be able to just grab them and reheat them for a quick breakfast in the morning. Another one using ground turkey is the ground turkey stuffed peppers. For these, I just preheated my oven to 375 degrees and got 4 large bell peppers ready by cutting off the tops and removing the seeds with a spoon. I roasted those for about 10 to 15 minutes while I got the filling together. So for the filling, all I had to do was combine some of the prepped ground turkey that I had, rice, diced tomatoes, taco seasoning, and cheese. I made sure to keep a little bit of the cheese on the side because we're going to need it for the topping. I stuffed those peppers with that turkey mixture once they came out of the oven, and I gave them a few minutes to cool. These were truly stuffed peppers. This filling made so much. So once I got the filling in, I topped them with that remaining cheese and then baked it for 15 to 20 minutes, just until the peppers are tender and the cheese was melted. These were perfect for meal prep. It was really easy to store them. They didn't take up a lot of room, and it was a fully complete meal. All right, you guys, you know, there was no way I was going to be doing a budget-friendly meal prep without doing some type of a pasta dish. This one ends up being awesome because it has some hidden vegetables in it, which I thought was great. So for this one, I started just by cooking some rigatoni until it was al dente, drained it, and set it on the side. I preheated my oven to 375 degrees, and then in a skillet, I sauteed some garlic with broccoli and onion. And then we had already cooked the ground turkey earlier. If you're doing this as a separate recipe, you'd want to cook the ground turkey at this point. Then I stirred in 24 ounces of marinara sauce and just let that all simmer together for 5 minutes or so. Then I mixed the pasta in with the marinara and the ground turkey. And then I took about 1/3 of it and laid it down in a baking dish, topped that with some shredded mozzarella, did another layer, added some mozzarella, and then did a third and final layer with some mozzarella. So there's cheese going through 3 layers of this bad boy. Baked that in the oven with foil on it for about 20 minutes. Then I took the foil off and baked it for another 10. This was one that we ended up tossing right in the freezer because we knew we weren't going to get to it within those first 3 days. You can never go wrong with a pasta dish. Last but not least, we have some baked potatoes with a chicken, broccoli, and cheese mixture. So for this one, it is the longest of the recipes, but I wouldn't say it was super complicated, but you do have to give yourself enough time for the baked potatoes to bake. We started by washing the potatoes, spraying it with a little oil, and then adding some salt and pepper to it. Then I took out some aggression from the day, and I just stabbed those potatoes with a fork. You bake those in the oven for about 45 minutes. While the potatoes were in the tanning bed, I ended up just mixing together some steamed broccoli, shredded chicken, mayonnaise, cheese, and seasonings. If you don't have mayonnaise in the budget, it would have been totally fine without it. Once the potatoes were done, you just slice them open once they've cooled a little bit, fluff up the inside with a fork, and pile on the mixture. I popped them back in the oven until everything got to know each other and started to melt down. This one was a super simple but very filling meal that would be perfect for dinner and reheated really well the next day. Hi guys, popping in one more time because I do have a couple more notes I wanted to share with you on the what I learned section of this video. So the first one was actually the price of the bell peppers. I purchased the tri-color pack of bell peppers, and what I wish I did instead was just purchase individual green bell peppers, because the individual green bell peppers are only 79 cents per pepper, whereas the tri-color pack of peppers is over $4 even on sale. And what I would have done with the difference in that is some of that money I would have allocated towards having probably 2 bundles of bananas. I think one of the areas of opportunity I had in this one was definitely having fresh fruits as an option with breakfast or throughout the day for snacks. The other thing is, in the video, you'll hear me kind of make fun of myself during the grocery haul because I purchased mini tortillas like the fajita style ones, but it ended up being a happy accident because the size of the tortillas was perfect for me to make the little quesadillas and also make the taquitos. As most recipes you see is always gonna be a pound of meat. It's always gonna tell you a pound of ground turkey, a pound of chicken, a pound of ground pork. You don't always have to follow that. So in a couple of the recipes, because I knew that there was other items going into it, I actually cut it in half. So I only did like half a pound of ground pork instead of a full pound. And then in a couple, I took a 3-pound ground turkey and I actually split that in 4. So it ended up being 3/4 pound per recipe. So if you are trying to stretch your budget, that's another way. Try to reduce the meat a little bit. And if you needed to supplement with some beans or something to make up for the additional protein, it can have a huge impact on your budget. All right, guys, we did it. Huge meal prep, huge. Okay. Let's talk about breakfast options. So for breakfast options, I have a few things going on. We have a quiche back here that could either be breakfast or it could be lunch if we wanted. We also have these little breakfast sandwiches. I have these sweet potato and black bean quesadillas that could kind of be whatever. In the back, I think I'm gonna turn these into like freezer meals for myself, stick them in the freezer. Either I'll use them later this week or in the future. But we have like a baked rigatoni dish that has some ground turkey marinara, and there's even some broccoli in there. In the back is like kind of a Santa Fe chicken type of casserole dish with rice. We have some turkey meatloaf, and I just threw some pasta in there, but you could do rice because there's still leftover rice. We'll talk about that in a minute. I also have some extra broccoli, so I can serve that as a side with that. Over here, the Bullgogi fried rice. I took a bite of that. That is so good. So we got 4 servings of that. Honestly, this could probably even stretch to 5 or 6 if you wanted it to. In the back, we have a couple options for soup. I have a pepper jack soup and then the Italian penicillin soup. For the Italian penicillin soup, this is the pasta that goes with it. We have these little tuna melts. Super excited about these little taquitos. I can't wait to try those. Another option that could switch between lunch or breakfast are these Loco Mocos. Over here, we have the stuffed peppers, and these Bad Larrys are fully stuffed. So those came out really good. There's rice inside it. So I know it looks like it's not a complete meal, but it literally has everything. And then last but not least, we have these amazing looking chicken, broccoli, baked potatoes with some delicious cheese and all of that. So $100, you guys. And then we're gonna get into what we have left over and what I think I might use it for. All right, guys, here is what remains from our $100 Kroger order after I just did all of that massive meal prep. So we have 2 little baggies of peeled garlic still left. I still have a whole bag, probably about 2 cups of uncooked broccoli, 2 onions. I have a thing of minced garlic, some diced bell pepper, some carrot. I have some diced onion. I have half a box, so half a pound of ditalini pasta. I still have more than half a gallon of milk. I have probably 3 pounds of rice still left over. I also have this chicken broth that we had made. I have all 6 of the applesauces, so I was thinking these would be good if you needed like a snack or to go with breakfast. And then I have plenty of rice vinegar and shoyu left over. And then back here, I have like almost an entire thing of breadcrumbs. This right here, I really think could turn into a super delicious vegetable soup because we've got pasta, or I could do rice. I could even do 2 soups. I have plenty of vegetables. So something like that. And then, so these could be snacks. The milk can be drinking. We can drink the milk. Drunk? I don't know. I'm short circuiting. It's really late at night. And I mean, the rest of it is stuff that obviously isn't going to go bad. Like the rice, that could last me a couple weeks, you know? So I think overall, in terms of minimizing food waste, we did a killer job. I would, again, probably just turn this into some type of a really healthy vegetable soup. Great time of year to be doing it. And I'm pumped. I'm pumped with how well we did with this $100.
Came in like a wrecking ball.
John's here. We created a lot of meals in this video. So we're gonna try and do a rapid fire review, but we know it's probably not gonna be rapid fire. It's gonna be as rapid fire as we can. Strap in, we're gonna discuss the 14 recipes we made in this video and our thoughts on them. Although budget was our top priority in this video, we also need there to be flavor. We can't.
Facts.
Facts on facts on facts. Let's just dive in. We started off strong with some sweet potato and black bean quesadillas. They ended up being so easy to make.
Kids liked it.
The kids loved it. What would you rate that one?
Like a 7, 8.
Yeah, I'd say a 7.
Yeah.
The next one was Italian penicillin soup. I loved this soup, and I'm not a soup person. It felt like nutrition in a bowl. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it felt like you were eating healthy.
Italian penicillin soup makes sense because it tasted like you were eating something that was going to...
It's not like a bad healthy. It just, you could taste every...
Right, like it was
everything.
like wholesome.
Yeah.
Very good. I would give that one also a 7. I think that was a 7.
Oh, 6.5 for me.
6.5, okay. The next one, Bullgogi fried rice. This was tied for number 1 for me. It was relatively easy to throw together. It was kind of comical to throw together because our wok that we have...
I wouldn't even call it a
Our
wok.
Huge skillet.
Yeah.
It's a skillet.
It's a skillet that has like...
very large skillet. Has seen better days.
Deformed.
It's going through some things in life. It had a nasty divorce or something, and it's trying to reinvent itself. That one made so much food. I'm gonna go 9.5 on that one.
Wow.
Like there's not much more that could have been done to it.
That's like an 8.5 for me.
8.5. Next one was the breakfast sausage sandwiches. For these, I would say I missed an egg in them. But honestly, I think most people would have been perfectly fine. I think the other issue is that I didn't make the patties flat enough because I was trying to crowd them in the air fryer. So that was a bad on my part. I should have not been lazy. They were the ultimate convenience for the week. John just popped them in the air fryer in the morning.
350 for 4...
350, 4 minutes, reheat it. I would give those, I'm gonna go like a 6. I'd go a 6.
I'm gonna go 5.
Now the next one was ground turkey stuffed peppers, and I actually didn't even get to try this. So some of them, we had so much food.
You didn't try that?
We had, well, actually I lied to you. Like I tried while I was making it to test for seasoning, but I didn't get to try the completed meal. Yeah, we ended up putting them in the freezer because we had so much food, and the food's good for about 3 to 4 days. So I didn't want to waste anything, so they went in the freezer. John got to try it, and so did one of his coworkers. What did you guys think?
Well, my coworker thinks everything you make is like a 10 million out of 10. I think of all the things, that was like I would say like a 7. Like the filling was like an 8, but I'm just not a stuffed bell pepper fan. Yeah.
So you would probably like it if that was more like a casserole or a skillet meal or something.
Yeah.
Like the filling part. Okay, and then the next one was the ground turkey meatloaf. This one, she wasn't winning any beauty pageant awards. Okay, it didn't look pretty. It certainly didn't. However, the flavor was definitely there. The kids loved it.
Yeah.
I'm like really pumped about that because I might actually start doing crock pot meatloafs for the kids. I'd give that one a solid 7.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, the next one was a baked rigatoni with ground turkey and like a marinara sauce. For me, you just can't go wrong with a pasta. It was an 8. There's nothing, it had cheese in it.
Yep.
What I did love was the idea of layering the cheese, because in the past when I've done pasta dishes, it's always just the cheese on the top. It gets clumpy. You get some cheese in one bite, no cheese in another bite. This one I felt like distributed the cheese right where it needs to be. So I'd say solid 8 on that one. Did you give it a?
I would say it's like a 7, but if I added like some spice to the sauce to make it just like a little bit more bold.
Like some red pepper flakes.
Yeah, it just felt like it was just like a pasta.
Next one was a surprise to me, actually. Tuna melts on English muffins, because I prefer like chicken salad or like canned salmon over tuna. But these I ended up really enjoying. They had a really good flavor to them. I'm assuming it's the all-purpose seasoning that I used.
That's what's in there.
Because there's like something about that flavor was really good.
Yeah.
I think on that one I used the cowboy butter from Kinder's, which is one of our favorites. I'd give those a solid 6.5. What would you give that one?
6.
6. Okay. Next up we had the vegetable frittata, which I am so mad at myself for never having made this before. It was like basically like a salsa casserole. It just felt like salsa, and it was just so flavorful, so good. I would give that one honestly an 8.5. Next up was another surprise. Southwest chicken and rice casserole. That's the one we ate last night.
Oh, yes.
What had happened with that one was the night we cooked everything, we had no more room in our fridge because there was so much food that got made. So we put it in the freezer. And then last night we thawed it for maybe 4 hours in the fridge. I'd say about 4 hours. And then we baked it in the oven, 350 degrees for 30 minutes, took the foil off, and then baked it for another 10 or so. So I was sitting there thinking, rice frozen, it's not gonna be good. I was thinking the rice was gonna be super hard. Reheating rice, didn't think it was gonna go great. I was completely wrong. It ended up being so delicious. And that was another one that probably made between 6 to 8 servings. It's a huge amount of food.
Yeah, if not more.
If not more. I would give that one an 8.5.
I'm going 9.
You're going 9.
The reason I say that is all the other meals I would have like one plate of it and be like, all right, I'm good.
Right.
That, I had one plate of it and I was like,
You
I
wanted
want
more. You wanted seconds.
That's how I judge food. If I want more after I'm done.
I'm sorry, but that's a solid way to judge food. That is a solid way.
Let's go.
The next one was a simple one, but they ended up being like really, really good. Air fryer chicken taquitos. I want to make them all the time.
I forgot about those.
Those are so good. They were just such a great little snack. Like they brought us such joy. They were just so convenient to have for a fast little snacky snack.
Yes.
Like, when you need something that's in between a snack and an actual meal, like you need something that's a little bit more substantial. That's when those taquitos come in hand.
And like just having one was perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. But if you wanted to make it a meal, 2 or 3 of those could easily be a perfect lunch or dinner. Like those were so good.
And they reheated really well in the air fryer.
And they were another one that was super simple. And honestly, they were fun to put together. I'm going 8 on those, I think. 8, yeah.
I'm going 8.5.
8.5. Okay, perfect. Next one, baked potatoes with chicken, broccoli, and cheese. So these I just thought were so cool.
Potato.
You can't go wrong with that. So what would you rate that one?
Like a 7.5.
7. I'm going 7 on that one because I'm not like the biggest baked potato fan, and I would have wanted like sour cream and toppings on it.
I was literally just
like for me,
it needed like a.
You probably need like butter or something,
or like a barbecue sauce.
Oh, the next one was a spicy chicken and pepper jack soup. This one probably wasn't like my favorite of the bunch. It's a good option, but I'd say it was probably like a 6 for me because it was really flavorful, but also I don't love soup that much. So it's like just not something I would like gravitate towards. So, but
all soups, it was good.
Yes, it's kind of like, it reminds me of almost if you've made like a white chicken chili before. It was similar
that's
to
what
that kind of
it's-
vibe, like or
yes.
like a chicken tortilla soup.
Yes,
That's what it
very
reminded me
similar.
of. Last but not least, tied for number 1 in my heart, the Loco Moco casserole. Here's the thing. If you guys have never been to Hawaii before, Loco Moco is one of the iconic dishes that you can get there. I am not kidding. This was so good and it reheated so well, which I was surprised by because most of the time rice is like after a day, it gets a little icky. But I think because of the fact that this was essentially like a fried rice Loco Moco, because you're adding in the shoyu and you're adding in sesame oil, it kept the rice super flavorful and super moist. Like there was no hard rice whatsoever. I'm giving that a 9.5.
Same.
So I would say this was a complete and total success.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work that went into it, but I also didn't have to cook the entire week.
Right.
Like I took
Very
those
true.
few hours out, planned it out, blocked it out on my schedule, and then it resulted in me not having to cook for the rest of the week, and cleaning was significantly reduced for the rest of the week because we weren't creating dishes every single night.
Right.
I think even though they were on a budget, these were all incredibly flavorful and incredibly creative meals.
I think that's like the huge thing. For like $100 to spread it across so many different flavor palettes.
Yes.
What was the hardest and what was the easiest?
I like this question. The Loco Moco was the hardest.
Which was the number 1, so it was worth it.
Yeah, so it was worth it. Because you had to make the gravy separate, you have to fry the eggs separate, you have to make the ground pork, and then you kind of assemble everything all together.
Right.
So that had the most steps, so I would say that was probably the hardest. I'd say the easiest one to make probably was the vegetable frittata.
Really?
Yeah, because that was pretty much just whisk it all up, pour it in the skillet, and then stick it in the oven.
Okay.
There wasn't much going on with that, but honestly, they were all pretty simple. Perfect. Well, we are going to get all this feedback over to corporate. I appreciate you guys for sticking through this one. I know it was a longer video, but I hope it brought some inspiration to when you're doing meal planning, and if your wallet needs a little bit of a rest one week and you want to try and really budget but still come up with creative and flavorful meals. I hope we delivered whatever you needed when you clicked on that thumbnail, and I hope you have a magical day. Bye.